If you've ever said to yourself, I can't meditate because I can't clear my head, then this video is for you, because in this video I'm going to break down what meditation is in a very basic way, how to meditate, and why that idea of I can't meditate because I can't clear my head is simply false. Hopefully by the end of this video you'll tap into that state of meditation, maybe even during the video. And I'm also going to share 4 increasingly popular behaviors that prevent us from being able to live from this spiritual essence, our own awareness or presence, because these things are pulling us away from ourselves in a way that causes mental disturbances, prevents us from having a positive mental well-being, inner peace, and ultimately prevents us from living a life that is truly fulfilling, purposeful, or peaceful. So if you're interested, stick around. You know, a lot of times when I talk to people and ask them if they meditate, they say that, yeah, I've tried, but I can't quiet my mind, I can't meditate, or something to that effect. And I think it's a misconception that a lot of us have. I think it's something that I probably used to have as well, that this notion of meditation is that you have to have a completely blank mind. And in thinking that, when a person goes to meditate, they would then try to quiet the mind, try to stop thinking with thinking, which is, virtually impossible. And even if you have the conceptual understanding that you are not your thoughts, that you're the awareness behind them, thinking that will not quiet the mind. Presence isn't something that can be found through thought, but only experienced right now, even though you're having thoughts. Meditation isn't about quieting the mind, shutting the brain down, or stopping thinking. It's about just being in your body, being present right now, being awareness. Because awareness is always here. It doesn't judge or push away certain experiences, it just washes. So meditation and finding awareness is really a pathless path, if you will. There's nothing to find. There's just awareness, there's just experience right now. So if you find that you have a hard time meditating, ask yourself what thoughts are creating that belief or that narrative that you can't meditate. To say you can't meditate is to say you're unaware. You don't have awareness. Meditating is just being aware, being the present experience, the beingness that you are with whatever it is that is going on. It could be a flowing river in front of you. It could be a screaming baby. It could be blissful thoughts if you're on a beautiful beach watching a sunset, or very stressful thoughts if you're in traffic and you're going to be late for an appointment. Wherever you go, there you are. And when I say you, I mean awareness. Thoughts are always covering up awareness. We get so used to living from thoughts that it's very difficult to be aware. And there's a few things that really pull us into unconscious living, if you will, which is to say you're living from the mind, living compulsively, reactively from thoughts and emotions. And in living this way, we lose touch with ourselves. We lose touch with awareness. And one of the biggest things that causes us to lose touch with ourselves is overstimulation. Constantly stimulating our mind, particularly with stimulus that causes pleasure in the brain, dopamine release, or triggering that reward pathway, it becomes addictive, living from this constant stimulation. What it does is it causes us to live from thoughts, because the more you stimulate your brain with scrolling, TV, podcasts, music, anything, video games, literally anything, the more it stimulates thinking, and the more we live from the experience of thought rather than just pure awareness, the more it covers up awareness. So living from overstimulation will pull you away from yourself or your awareness. Overconsumption or compulsive consumption is another thing that pulls us away from ourselves. Because if you think about it, overindulgence is this gluttony that stems from emotions or feelings. Again, the pleasure stimulus in the brain telling you that you need to have more of something. And in living from that, in living reactively or compulsively from those feelings, you're living from the feelings, identifying with them, rather than grounding yourself in awareness and simply watching those feelings, whatever they may be. Any type of overindulgence in pleasureful stimulus, because that's typically what we're going to overindulge in, if anything. Food, lust, cheap entertainment, anything, you name it. But it's being able to have balance in our consumption, not over consuming. It's gluttony, essentially, is what it is. I'm realizing that's probably why they talked about it in the Bible, is it pulls you away from spirit, soul, awareness, whatever you want to call it. So being balanced, not over consuming or not overindulging, will bring you back to yourself, because you're no longer living reactively from your emotions. Lust is another one. I just mentioned it, but it's a huge thing that pulls us into a state of unconsciousness, or away from spirit or soul, if you will. Chasing lust, it pulls you deep into your body and into this unconscious state to satisfy this urge, this pleasure that you want filled, this void, whatever it is. But living from lust definitely pulls us away from that spiritual center, that alignment within. Another one that really pulls us away from it is multitasking. Multitasking splits your attention, and in order to be truly present, you have to be focused within. When your mind is constantly, again, stimulated and overstimulated through multitasking, it's very difficult to be focused and attentive to yourself, within yourself right now. You're constantly fragmenting your attention and your focus. And in doing that, you train your brain to not be able to hold focus, not be able to tune into presence or stillness. Similarly, with that overstimulation, if you're so used to being stimulated, especially chasing after some sort of stimulus that causes pleasure, eventually life itself becomes boring. Presence becomes boring. You need something in order to just feel good, at baseline. So this overstimulation and multitasking inhibits you from being able to be aware, be present, be the experience of being right now. It makes it very difficult too. So meditation, being present, is the most profound thing that a person can do. It's what all of the mystics talked about. It's talked about in all the spiritual texts. It's a dimension within yourself, beyond yourself, beyond this limited character that we all play, the self-concept, the thoughts, the ego. It's the container for which the ego exists within. And it is the pathless path, because you don't have to go anywhere to experience it, to get there. You just have to be able to regulate yourself, down-regulate your nervous system, to be at home within yourself, with whatever you're experiencing. And if we're so used to overstimulating, overindulging, chasing lust, multitasking, it's very difficult to be in that space, the spiritual essence of what you are, pure awareness. So if you don't think you can meditate, first ask yourself if you engage in these behaviors. And then I would recommend trying to reduce them or eliminate them. And in doing that, you will naturally be able to meditate, be in the space of awareness. It won't be as difficult, because you won't be doing things that enhance your mind, the thoughts, the reactivity, the autopilot or unconscious living. You'll be within yourself. You'll be living as stillness. And again, I'm not saying it's easy. It's a muscle that you strengthen within yourself. It's coming home to yourself, because ultimately we go through life living as this self-concept with all of these thoughts and perceptions, and we live from those things, identified with them, which means that if we're identified with them, we're unaware of the awareness behind them, that which we actually are. If you want to return to the awareness, slow down, regulate yourself, go out in nature. Don't react to your compulsions. Be very aware of them. The more we react, the more we need to soothe ourselves with constant stimulation or pleasureful stimulus, the more we're pulling ourselves away from ourselves. I think it says somewhere in the Bible about starving the body and feeding the soul, something like that. And that's basically what it means, is when you live from the body, the physical self, the self-concept, and all of the desires within, you're going to strengthen that identity, and you're going to be pulled away from the true self, the true awareness that you are. So, down-regulate, pay attention to how often you are reacting and the compulsions that you have, and just sit with them. This is how you regulate. You regulate by being in the experience of whatever it is as awareness, not as the ego or the concepts of that you're thinking about, the judgments and labels that you give to your experience. Be with yourself. Sit with yourself. And you burn off the reactive way of living within. You break the cycle. This is the way back to awareness. It's not easy. It can be difficult, because you are breaking cycles. You are letting go of parts of yourself that have been, or the false self that has been, the reactive self. But it's worth it, because in the end you come back to the truth of who you are. You tap into wisdom within. You tap into inspiration, your intuition that's guiding you towards the purposeful path and fulfilling path that you ultimately seek. Remember, meditation isn't something to achieve. It's not a goal. It's not an achievement, it's not an accomplishment. It is being, just being. And it's hard to be at first when you're not used to being, when you're used to thinking and doing. But when you can return to being, you return to truth. You return to life itself. That which life is guided by, the hand of God, if you will, the Tao, source. And you realize that there's some magic to it all. You don't understand it, but you are within the unfolding of life, like a wave in the ocean. You're part of something bigger. I hope this video helps you come back to yourself, awareness, truth, inner peace. But it's a practice, and it's a worthwhile practice. But know that you don't have to go anywhere. Wherever you go, there you are. So, I'll see you in the next video.